There is no other way to make it happen. There is no other way to do it. It's just impossible to do it any other way. There's no way to it but straight through it. Period. That's it. There's no way to it but straight through it. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is in life, as we're building, as we're growing things, as we're elevating, as we're doing whatever we're doing. My father used to say something to me all the time. When I was growing up, when he was raising me, and it really it stuck with me then, and it stays with me now. And he was always like, "You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues." Now, honestly, as I've grown older, I was like, when am I going to get time paying my dues? But the reality of it is several years ago, God really placed it on my heart, placed it on my mind, and I didn't know that I needed to, even have this focus or have this phrase in me in order to move forward in everything. But I really did. But there's no way to it but straight through it. And what that means is, we live in a world and a culture, people always want to go around it, want to try to, go do anything but straight on, discipline, anything but, but following all of the steps, following the process, and the reality of it is there's no way to it but straight through it. All my years of living have taught me, for me, there's no way for me to get where I'm going other than straight through, and God put that on my heart. And for me, y'all can keep doing what the rest of y'all want to do, in the world. But those that succeed, there's only one path, and that's straight through it, straight through all of the steps, all of the processes, all of the time it takes to do the thing. Now, everything doesn't take the same amount of time to do, but the reality of it is those things that matter the most, those things that stick the longest, typically take the longest to build. You don't, unless you're okay with building something that's just here today, gone tomorrow, great. But if you're actually building something sustainable, I'm hearing a lot of conversations, a lot of talk around generational wealth. But you know what? In order to build generational wealth, that's the hardest thing, and this is why so many don't do it, because it takes going straight through. It takes, going through the fire, walking through, deconstruction and reconstructing and building something that was not previously there. This is why generational wealth is not had, because somebody has to build it. At some point, somebody has to build it. And in building it, it has to be built sustainable. It has to be built. That's why it's the foundation. That's why they're called founders. You see what I'm saying? That's why they're called founders. And they're not called, finishers. They're called founders. The founder is the foundation. The foundation. If it doesn't have a strong foundation, it cannot and will not stand. Period. These are principles of life. That's just it. If it doesn't have a strong foundation, it won't stand. You think about a mountain range. People get all, excited. They're so tall, they're so high, they're so, what they don't, pay attention to is the foundation of it, the base of it. The biggest part is at the bottom. The biggest part is at the bottom, and it's spreading because it's holding all the weight, and it's spreading. It's constantly breaking down. It's constantly, there's holes on it, there's caverns under it. But it has to stand. It has to stand. Otherwise, the mountain, would have been fell. But the reality of it is, everybody's focused on the peak. Everybody's focused on, ooh, look at the top of that mountain. It's so tall, it's so pretty. Nobody focuses on the base of it. I don't think in life I've ever heard somebody say, ooh, look at the base of that mountain. Ooh, wow. The base of that mountain is so impressive. I never heard that in my life. But here's the reality. The base of that mountain is far more important than the peak of that mountain. And it's going to be there far longer than the peak of that mountain. And that's the reality. The peak of that mountain, it's going to get wet, tore down, weathered down, it's going to, erode over time. And that foundation erodes as well. But the reality of it is it's steadfast, it's strong. That'll be the last part of the mountain standing. And so the reality of it is the foundation, but there's no way to it but straight through it. And if you don't go straight through, it won't be strong enough. To build a strong foundation, I've never seen a building built. Without first seeing the foundation built. And I've seen a lot of different buildings built from just single houses to to skyscrapers. And see, that's the one thing about seeing a skyscraper built from nowhere. And it's funny, I would think about it, when I was younger, and downtown Indianapolis, and I would see them. First they would dig a big hole. They dig down in the earth. Real deep. I'm like, oh wow, that looks big. Be 4 square blocks of big hole. Down in the ground, and then they would start building in that foundation, and then it would start building that foundation. And then it would start adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And next thing you know, after a year and a half, 2 years or whatever, there'll be a skyscraper there. And it's still standing there. But it started in that hole. It started with that foundation. And see, that's the thing. There's no way to it but straight through it. That building could not be there without that foundation. If they just, threw it up, didn't put in, strong foundation or whatever, just, for whatever reason, built it. First of all, it wouldn't, even by the time they got it that tall, it would have, it would have fell over, it would have crashed, it would not be standing even. But let's just say they got it built without the foundation. It wouldn't still be there. It just wouldn't still be there, 30 years later, 40 years later, it wouldn't still be there. And, that's the thing. There's no way to it but straight through it. So my conversation today on Well is just, really focusing on, there's no way to it but straight through it. Once you cultivate not just a mindset of there's no way to it but straight through it, but a lifestyle, but a process, internal processes, that are just geared towards, I'm not going to go around this thing. I'm not going to avoid it. And see, and this is the problem that we have today. And this is the part that just drives me crazy, but full-grown adults that are avoiding communicating in conversations and avoiding other adults, and this is why we can't get anything done. I mean, the level of avoidance has gone up exponentially over the last 15 years. I've seen it just, constantly rise. I mean, and it's like, they're avoiding all the way, from serious, all the way down to simple conversations, and now we can't get anything done. And I've seen a breakdown. We've all seen it, but I've seen a breakdown in communication specifically over the last 16, 17 years. That sure, there's a lot of reasons, but as adults, see, things hit different. 17 years ago, I was an adult. 17 years ago, there were a lot of adults, full-grown adults that remember a time when you had to confront a conversation, when you had to, you can't run from the conversation. You got to get straight into it. We got to have the conversation. We got to, okay, what's going on? Okay, and we were full-grown adults. We can blame it on sure, the technology was a big piece in what's disassembled our ability to communicate. But as grown adults, we can't lay on that. We can't. That's not an excuse for us. We can't. That's not an excuse. Now if somebody's born, then and that's all they know, great. Okay, there's Gen Zs, Gen Alphas. Gen Betas have never known anything else. Even some younger millennials that doesn't have an actual grasp of, life before, the smartphone. But we do. And the reality of it is it's beholden upon us to get, I'm not a big fan of going back and getting back, but on this, we got to get this back. We got to get our ability to communicate back, straight through, man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, woman to man, eyeball to eyeball, hey, we got to have the conversation. There's no way to it but straight through it. We can't continue to avoid. I've seen it's been very, very damaging, very, very damaging. And over the past several years, it's been worse than pulling teeth. Pulling teeth is easier than it is to get, a decent, constructive conversation out, with anybody, because, we've accepted as a culture, the lack of need for communication when in fact, the need for communication is more, more important than ever now. So today, I just wanted to really point out, no way to it but straight through it. We have to go straight through it. We have to have the conversation. We have to, intentionally, let's get together. I tell you what, here's the thing. Several years ago in 2019, I opened up office down in Indianapolis for Food by the Word, and it was really a blessing. It was really a blessing. In 2019, open it up down there. And for, and then COVID happened. And then, but the first, so, and we were there for, 3 years. And in those 3 years time, I would invite, we had that particular location drew in a lot of people. And we come in, here's the thing, Food by the Word, my whole plan was to sell, just get some food sold. That's what I wanted. That's what we did. That's what my focus was. Well, I tell you what, I had a lot of people come down and meet me with me down at Food by the Word. A lot of people. And here's the thing, the vast majority of the time, we would sit and we would counsel and we would talk about, we would glorify God. We would, talk about business. We would talk about, we talk about a lot. I tell you what, we did a lot of engaging, a lot of face-to-face engaging. When people would come into Food by the Word, into that confines of Food by the Word, the whole aura change. People would come in and we would have, I tell you, we've had close to hundreds of, interactions with people. Hundreds, at least, at a minimum, hundreds of interactions with people. And in these interactions, they would come intentionally. People would come from out of town to Food by the Word down there in our office. And it was very, very, very pivotal. People would come intentionally and we would engage and it would be so impactful. I'm like, this is amazing. This wasn't even the intention, but out of that, what bore out of that, Montgomery 2320, what bore out of that was, a lot of people got insights, got connections, a lot of people, we were able to engage face to face and we were able to have face to face conversations. I'm talking about, it wasn't a big office. My office here is bigger than that office was, and it was not that big a space. And so it was very, the communication was very intimate. It was very intimate. It was literally face to face. And so in saying all of this, it really was a great foundation for exactly what I'm talking to you about right now, which is no way to it, but straight through it. So today I want to encourage you, really, really intentionally as a paradigm shift, really start to cultivate, the mental attitude and what it takes to really hold yourself accountable to the level of, straight through, no way to it, but straight through it, and in everything, I'm talking about communication, but just in everything we do though, what we're building, if we're writing, if we're exercising, if we're training, there's no shortcuts, there's no days off, there's no way to it, but straight through it, and that's a phrase that God put on my heart years ago in conjunction with my father teaching me all my life. You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues, and the reality of it is, this, I don't think there's a time more important than even now than to have this message. So hopefully it helps somebody and benefits somebody, if so, I really encourage, I'm really, as I get these messages out, with Well and everything, and just, in other things, other programs that we have and that we have coming and everything, just, like and share, subscribe to our channel, that'll really help out, really get the algorithms up and everything, get my channel to where, we can actually start, producing more, more beneficial business content, inspirational content, just really, Food by the Word media is really, and that's another thing, started out, almost 9 years ago, 8.5, almost 9 years ago, I just wanted to sell a sandwich, period. You can look at the first video that we have on our channel here. I just wanted to sell a sandwich. That's where we started out at. But fast forward, God had other plans, so now I'm sitting here talking about, Food by the Word media, where we have content, we have ebooks, we have, videos, we have, instructions, we have courses, available, I just wanted to sell a sandwich. That was the point, almost 9 years ago. I just wanted to sell a sandwich, start something, start, generating, some income, but God had other plans. And so, like I say, like, share, subscribe, our channel, really get it out, get the message out. I really appreciate it. We're going to grow together, and say, no way to it, but straight through it. So thank you very much. God bless you.